All right, so are you ready to dive into something pretty unexpected today?
Oh yeah, always up for a challenge.
Okay, well, this one might really surprise you because we're going deep into the U.S. Marine Corps.
From Marines.
Yep, the Marines. But we're not talking about combat strategies or anything like that.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
So we're exploring this book called Embrace the Bonds, the Relationship Literacy Odyssey.
Relationship literacy and the Marines. Those two things don't seem to go together.
Right, exactly.
Huh.
That's what caught my eye, too. You see, the Marines are known for their, strength and discipline.
Yeah, honor, courage, commitment, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. But this book dives into a program they developed to tackle some really tough issues within their ranks, things like sexual harassment and abuse.
Wow. So it's about addressing those serious problems head on.
It is, but it goes even deeper than that. It's not just about damage control.
Oh, so there's more to it.
Way more. It's about building healthy relationships, fostering respect, understanding, the kind of stuff we could all use a little more of.
Now that's something I can definitely get behind. So how does this program actually work?
Well, the book lays out a framework of 4 pillars, and the first one is self-identity.
Self-identity.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. They encourage Marines to explore who they are beyond their uniform.
Beyond the uniform. So what does that look like?
Well, they consider things like ethnicity, gender, religion, even sexuality. It's about recognizing that everyone brings their own unique experiences and perspectives to the table.
That's pretty groundbreaking for an institution like the military, isn't it?
It is. It's a real shift in mindset. And, the book even talks about exercises where Marines share personal stories to help them understand each other's backgrounds.
Wow, so they're really digging deep here, encouraging vulnerability and empathy.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the most powerful aspects of this program. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from embracing diversity, not suppressing it.
Yeah, that idea of understanding yourself better, leading to stronger bonds with others, that's something we can all apply to our own lives.
Totally, and think about how many conflicts could be avoided if we all just took the time to truly understand each other's perspectives.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so moving on to the second pillar. It's all about prevention.
Prevention.
Yep, and not the kind where you just wait for something bad to happen and then react.
So being proactive.
Exactly. They're teaching Marines to actually navigate tricky situations before they escalate.
So what kind of training are we talking about?
Well, the book mentions role-playing, where they practice things like de-escalating conflicts or addressing inappropriate behavior head-on.
Interesting. So giving them the tools to intervene and maybe even prevent harmful situations from happening in the first place.
Exactly. It's about empowering them to be upstanders, not bystanders.
And that kind of proactive approach could be so valuable in all sorts of settings, not just the military, right?
Absolutely. Think about workplaces, schools, even families. It's a game changer.
Okay, so prevention, self-identity. What's the third pillar?
This one is self-management.
Okay, self-management. Managing what exactly?
Well, it's about managing your emotions, your behavior, even your resources effectively.
That makes sense. I mean, self-control is important in any situation, but especially in high-stress environments like the military.
Exactly. But here's where things get really interesting. The book talks about Marines learning mindfulness techniques.
Mindfulness in the Marines. Wow.
I know, right? And there's more. They even teach anger management and get this affection management.
Affection management? Now, that's a new one.
I know it sounds kind of funny at first, but when you think about it, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, even in the military, you're still dealing with human relationships and emotions.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that healthy relationships require navigating all those complexities.
So the Marines are basically saying that emotional intelligence is just as important as physical strength.
And that's a pretty big deal considering their reputation,
It really challenges our assumptions about what it means to be a strong leader, doesn't it?
Absolutely. All right, so you ready for the fourth and final pillar?
Hit me with it.
Healthy relationships.
Okay, that one seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but there's a lot packed into it. Communication, trust building, setting goals as a couple, respecting boundaries, all that good stuff.
All the essentials for any kind of relationship, really.
Exactly. And there's this one exercise they do that I found fascinating. It involves Marines guiding each other blindfolded through an obstacle course.
Blindfolded through an obstacle course? That sounds intense.
It is. It's all about building trust and learning to rely on each other.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful metaphor for the importance of communication and teamwork.
And, the book doesn't shy away from the fact that relationships can be complicated, especially in today's world.
So they address things like social media and online communication.
Do they even talk about the challenges of maintaining healthy relationships in the digital age?
That's so relevant. I mean, think about how much our lives revolve around technology these days.
It's crazy, right? But the book emphasizes that the same principles of respect and empathy apply online as they do offline.
So it's about being mindful of how we communicate, even in virtual spaces.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, relationship literacy is an ongoing skill. It's something we all need to work on continuously.
And it sounds like the Marines are taking that to heart.
They are, and they're encouraging others to do the same. So they've got these 4 pillars, but how do they actually make it happen? Especially in a place like the military.
Yeah, that's where this book really shines. It gets into the nitty-gritty of implementation, how they train the staff and everything.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just like a one-time lecture.
No, not at all. They've got these workshops, and the Marines who lead them go through extensive training.
Makes sense. You want to make sure they can really facilitate these conversations in a meaningful way.
Exactly. It's about creating safe spaces for Marines to open up and share their experiences.
And I bet that's not always easy, especially in that kind of environment.
You're right. It takes a lot of skill and sensitivity, but the book also talks about peer-to-peer initiatives.
So it's not just coming from the top down.
Right. It's about empowering the Marines themselves to become mentors and support systems for each other.
Oh, that's cool. So they're really building a culture of responsibility.
Exactly. They want every Marine to feel like they have a role to play in creating a healthier environment.
Okay, so earlier we talked about Marines becoming like ambassadors for relationship literacy.
Yeah.
But how does that actually work in practice?
Well, the book gives them a lot of practical advice, how to start conversations with their peers, share personal stories, offer guidance, that sort of thing.
So giving them the tools to actually put these principles into action.
Exactly. And they really emphasize the power of storytelling.
Oh, yeah. Stories can be so powerful for connecting with people.
It makes these concepts more relatable. When you hear someone sharing their own experiences, it just hits differently.
One of my favorite parts of the book was this section with all the testimonials from Marines who went through the program.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's one thing to read about the theory, but hearing firsthand how it's actually impacted people's lives is so inspiring.
Absolutely. It really brings the whole thing to life. Were there any testimonials that particularly stuck with you?
There were a few, but one that comes to mind is this Marine who talked about how the program helped him become a better listener.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Yeah, he said it completely transformed his relationship with his wife.
That's awesome proof that these skills really can make a difference in your personal life.
And another one talked about how learning to manage his anger made him a better leader for his team.
Wow, so it's not just about personal relationships, it's about leadership too.
Exactly, and the cool thing is the book doesn't just focus on the military.
Oh, really? So they talk about how these principles can be applied in other areas?
Yeah, they've got examples from schools, communities, businesses, all sorts of places.
That's so cool. It really shows how universal these ideas are.
Like, there's this whole case study about a school that incorporated relationship literacy into its curriculum.
What? Teaching kids about healthy relationships? That's amazing.
Yeah, they were teaching them about emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, empathy, all those important skills.
And I bet that's making a huge difference in their lives.
I'm sure it is, but let's face it, we live in a pretty crazy world right now.
Yeah, it's fast-paced, everything's digital. It can be hard to maintain healthy relationships.
For sure, and the book acknowledges that it talks about the unique challenges of the digital age.
So how do they address that?
Well, they talk about the potential pitfalls, like misunderstandings and blurred boundaries.
Yeah, those are definitely things we've all experienced online.
But they also offer some practical strategies like emphasizing clear communication, practicing active listening, even in virtual environments.
So basically applying those same principles of respect and empathy to our online interactions.
Exactly, because words can have just as much impact online as they do in person.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of how we're communicating no matter the platform.
Absolutely. And ultimately, the book is about shifting our mindset, seeing relationship literacy as an ongoing skill.
Something we need to keep working on and adapting to new situations.
And it's not just about individual growth either.
Yeah, there's a bigger picture.
Yeah, the Marines are challenged to think about the long-term impact they want to create, fostering a culture of continuous learning.
Wow, so it's about building a legacy, not just for the Marine Corps, but for society as a whole.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that strong relationships are the foundation for a healthier, more resilient world.
That's a powerful message. But it can also feel a little overwhelming, like, where do we even start?
Well, that's where the book's focus on individual empowerment comes in.
So it's not just telling us what to do, it's giving us the tools to make a change.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership and recognizing that even small actions can have a ripple effect.
So we all have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely, and that's a pretty hopeful message if you ask me.
It's pretty amazing to see the Marine Corps really stepping up and recognizing this whole idea of relationship literacy, as a core skill.
It definitely makes you rethink those old ideas about what strength really means, right? Especially in the military.
Totally. You usually picture Marines talking about empathy and communication.
Yeah, but this book, Embrace the Bonds, really makes a strong case for it, saying that true strength isn't just about physical power.
Right. It's about being able to connect with people, build trust, work through those tough relationship issues.
And that's important no matter who you are or what you do.
Absolutely. These are life skills,
Yeah.
Stuff that applies to families, workplaces, communities everywhere.
It's like they're saying, if the Marines can do it, anyone can.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this book, let's shift gears a bit and talk about you, the listener.
Yeah. What are your takeaways from all this? What really resonated with you?
And what got you thinking? Or maybe even spark some ideas.
And maybe the most important question, what's one small step you can take today to improve your own relationship literacy?
Could be something simple like, reaching out to a coworker you haven't talked to in a while.
Or really listening to a loved one, actively listening without interrupting or planning your response.
Or even just taking a minute to think about your own communication style. Are you being empathetic? Are you really understanding where other people are coming from?
Because building those strong relationships, it's not a one-time thing. It's a journey.
It takes effort, and you got to be willing to learn and grow along the way.
But every little step you take makes a difference. It creates a ripple effect.
So, yeah, like the Marines say, embrace the bonds, start building those connections today.
And see how much it can change your life for the better.
This has been an awesome deep dive. I'm so glad we got to explore this topic together.
Me too. It's been really eye-opening.
And thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us as always.
Until next time, keep those conversations going and keep those bonds strong.